if somebody come on this podcast right now and say, well, we have partners and things, but hypothetically, somebody come and say, yo, I want to give you $10,000 a month, and now you got this go on OnlyFans and Blaze Woman. That man, most people taking that opportunity, bro, but you dissing these girls, bro. It's
Yep.
because you can't do it. That's all
You
it
ain't
comes
get
down to. You
opportunity.
wish you could have do it. So that's why I say, like, when we coin in terms like gold diggers, because I do think that certain things could get a little bit destructive. But when we coin in certain and these terms, we gotta show grace, because for one, the reality is, if the coin was on, if the what's this, how the saying go?
The-
If you was in a
If the shoe
position,
was on
you
the
would
other
be,
foot, if the shoe was
yeah.
on
If
the
the
other
shoe
foot,
was on the other
Mm.
foot, if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be doing some of the same things that you complain about all the time. So have some grace. I'm not saying to go out there and just be dumb, but have some grace when you count up people for gold digging and oh, she do this
perfect.
and they do that, or he do this and he do that. Have some grace a little bit.
Yo, bloggers on now. This is your boy Far Right, the Far Right, not the Far Right, because people still calling me the Far Right. I mean, I ain't watching the damn pod, and if you know me before 2013, I don't give a damn. It is the Far Right. All right, welcome to Come Through the podcast. Thanks for coming through, and expect to have a good time, man.
Hey guys, I'm a real bad man. I already know what time it is, man. It's your boy, the one, the only, the luxurious, the majestic, the real thing, Mr. Deshaun Webb, and we are back again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, yes, sir. This your boy Kenny. Just coming through for the one time, the substitute host. I'm here when I'm needed, and I'm needed when I'm not. So, man, glad to come through for another time. Man, I appreciate that, man, having me coming through, man.
Yo, I don't know what it is. It's just me, Brian. I'm playing a simple, no long intro. This guy is a lot.
Hey, we back. We back again with us. We have some come true alumni. The dad.
Mm.
Those who watching, I don't know what time it is. The prestigious MindHack Sack. What going on, my brother?
Yeah, man. Everything blessed as usual, man. How are you feeling, man?
You know,
Feeling
Another day
good.
in paradise.
Feeling good. Yes,
Another
sir.
day in
Can't
paradise.
complain.
New Year is a new year. Can't
Yes,
complain.
sir. Happy New Year.
feeling
Yes,
great.
sir. Same
Feeling
to
great.
you. So, we ain't even going to waste time on the small talk. We're going to jump straight into it. You know, most of us here, I say most because it's 3 or 5 have been married, whether still in relationships or not. We've been in some places relationship wise. And then the other 2 have been in places as well, just not to that point where they reach to that. Check. So
Still trying to figure
the
it out. Still
question
trying to figure it
is,
out.
should couples move in before marriage?
Yes.
What are y'all thoughts?
Yes.
Let's
Everybody
take
ain't
it
playing
away.
Me,
shit with it.
me,
Go
me,
Take
ahead,
it
me.
man.
Yeah.
away.
He trigger it, so jump on it first.
Cause me and my wife, before she was my wife, before she was even my fiance, we move in together. We move up to Chicago together. You check. So my
Watcha?
my answer my answer can automatically be yes. But on a serious note, like it definitely is a important step for anybody to want to suss out, because like this is a person you'll be moving in with, that like you'll be living with. So marriage, even though me personally don't really see much of a difference between a relationship and marriage apart from the change of status, you still want to do something before you decide to lock into that kind of commitment to really suss out how this person is with you, how you guys could deal with that type of transition together before again making that kind of decision.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I mean, even if you don't take the full step of moving in like 100% all in, I do think it's extremely important to know what it's like to live together. For some people, living together could make or break the whole relationship, because you
Right.
do learn a lot about that person after you move in and you live together. I mean, same with roommates and all like that. But this is
Yep.
the one you plan on being with for the rest of your life. And sometimes it could be a deal breaker after you get into that point, and you don't want to reach to marriage to then
To figure
realize,
it out.
shit, this is not going to work. That's come on now, we're wasting time here. So it's good to have that test trial that test trial to understand y'all X, y'all do's and don'ts to really get a better understanding of each other when cohabiting the same space. So I say
I,
yes for sure.
I haven't seen the convo too much against it. I've seen it a little bit. And I always question like where did the convo, because to me, what you guys saying, which I agree, it makes sense. That makes perfect sense. So like what is the argument for not doing it? Like I don't see a very good argument for not doing it.
I think the biggest argument is always religion based, where you're not allowed to do this before that person is your spouse. And
True.
I mean, to the point, I mean, there's some people that's like that, where they would even cut off the child if they move into a house with the significant other before marriage. They would
True.
cut all ties, stop talking because they're that strict in their religion. So that's usually the only answer.
That's crazy.
Wait, I have a
Yeah.
question for those who are who are married, been married, or who've been in those. Have you guys ever lived on your own before? If that makes sense. If I'm asking the
Mm,
question properly, like you lived on your own by yourself, and then it's
Mm.
like, yeah, you meet a girl, then y'all moving together, or you had roommates before you and your partners, then was whatever, then you was like, all right, cool. I meet this girl, we gonna move in together.
Mm.
You know, I
I
cannot
have.
Like,
say that I have.
I have a
I
lot of
yeah.
haven't,
one.
because
Yeah.
my
right,
wife is my college sweetheart. So we kind of start off from college in the same dorm, sleeping together, to moving in together, to then getting married and living together. So different
well,
situation and those that's already established adults.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I guess for me, right? I've lived on my own for quite some time, moving around here to here, place to place, and I've had lived with someone before, and I'm not going to lie, it was cool for a moment, but I hated it, man. I hated it. I hated
Like
it.
what did you hate about it specifically?
I think it was more of I got used to doing things my way, and I do understand. Marriages, serious relationships comes with compromise in certain aspects. But what I've learned is it disrupted my peace. It
Mm.
disrupted. It disrupted, and it could be as I ain't gonna say like it could be as the most simplest of things, right? I was
Mhm.
like, it could be something stupid. I was used to putting my keys in a sorted area every day. Then now, when I noticed the keys were gone, I pop out, want to fight. Like, who moved my keys? Who do this? Who do that? It was that. But the funny thing, it was that serious, or it was like stuff like clothes and a thing. I used to leave in the toilet, seat up, and as silly and stupid as it may be, what I guess things that I've learned coming from a person who I've lived on my own for a long time, to then
Mm.
moving into someone, it threw off my peace. It threw off I like things that I was used to doing. I hated the fact like, wow, why that person so low getting ready in the morning, man? And
God
it was like
damn.
it was or is this like why you taking about 10 minutes? How come you taking about 20 minute showers, man? I'd be in and out of the shower in like 10 minutes. Or if I in the bathroom quiet, I'd be, when I use the bathroom, I'd be in Zen mode. Then all of a sudden it's like you're in the toilet too long. Like, dude, like train out my
God
ways,
damn.
man. You know?
Hey,
Hey.
But
and that's
Can I?
but I think that's just something that I think,
Can I?
and I do agree with you guys. I do have to learn to live and coexist with that other partner. So I do think it is necessary to figure out, your max and mins in a relationship.
You sure
Things that
you
you're willing
sure
to
you ain't
tolerate.
just
I think he didn't like that person.
I'm going I'm going to ask that if
so.
you sure you ain't just hating the
Once
fuck.
once
That's
again,
what.
I don't want to expose myself too much in the pot, but let's just say I have just learned what I've learned. These are things that I've learned throughout my time. Things I think I
Based off
learned.
of based off of what you're saying, that person didn't bring you peace. I guess it's a good thing you live with them, so you didn't make that full commitment. Because I felt like if
True.
you made that full commitment before living with that person, you'd have probably been in a different predicament. Maybe
I
not
want
Or
to
married.
maybe
hear.
it could be maybe I wasn't mature enough to be partnered up with somebody else. I was still
They
in
get
my
some core elements we ain't
tackling
really
that.
introducing as well. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like this is a very important element with it as well, because they definitely have like the events that we like experience, right? But
Mm.
like too often we don't ever think about how to navigate collaborating and resolving
True.
the event. Yeah, check. We'd have just typically kind of notice things happening, and especially because a lot of stuff that start out small, our go-to is ignoring it, avoiding it, and we
Mm.
have a threshold. We have a threshold. So when we end up popping off about something, it wasn't because of like some grand thing that the person do. It's a combination of the series of little small things. Every morning, Kendrick, you try and wake up. You used to this Zen mode thing. This person blasting music and you pop up. You ain't pop up because the man increased the volume on a Tuesday. You pop up as a result of having to deal with this thing 72 times in a row and not adequately talking
True.
about it. You check. And that's
Right,
that's why
right.
like this is an important thing, even if it went for like roommates and so it's still like this is something that can happen with anybody. You check. So
True.
like you can definitely ask yourself, like, yeah, man, what is person doing to really bother me, man? But it's also equally important to ask yourself, what am I doing or what are we doing collaboratively
To
to
fix it.
talk about these issues as they
Yeah.
arise, not as we get upset about it, you check?
True.
Yeah, and that's a very good point
True.
that you brought up. That living together, it provides or presents an opportunity to create an extra layer of communication and to really bolster that skill set between you and your partner, and
Yep,
that's something I
navigation.
haven't even thought about really, but
Solid.
it,
I didn't think about that
yeah.
either.
Yeah. It's a easy thing to creep up on you. It's surreptitious. All right.
Ooh,
To come up in a
wait,
in a
Word of the
sneaky
day.
way.
let me write that down so I can look it up more. Let
Hey,
me write
you
that
funny
down.
man.
Let me write that down. Wait, what's
Yeah.
surreptitious? What's surreptitious?
You
Surreptitious.
see his eyes
Surreptitious.
light up when he expressed the exact meaning, and he's like, oh, it's surreptitious.
Yeah.
Hey, that was nice.
That
That
Surreptitious.
was
also
nice.
kind of insider. You check.
Yeah, that is the
Hey,
joke, man.
Yeah.
hey,
But
that's
before we move on from that, I do want to say though, I think there are ways you can get an insight though into what it kind of is living with a person now. In this day and age, a lot of people don't have their own space, but if that person do have their own space, go and spend. You don't have to just move in right away. Like go and spend a week in this person's space. You know what I'm saying?
walk your way
Feel it
up.
out. That way,
Yeah.
like the conversation that Kev talked about, that way you could almost have that conversation before even getting the new spot. You could already say, hey, I've noticed these things about you and your space, and those aren't things I appreciate. How can we come to a middle ground so that when we
Yeah.
in this joint space for a longer period, long term now, we're able to coexist in
Mitigate.
peace. What do you
Yeah,
want to say?
mitigate
You got something,
anything.
Brand?
Yeah, I got a question on that because I do believe in what you're saying, like spending those short bursts of time. But I think where it differs a little bit in my head is that gives you prep time, unless like you to the point where you could like in the relationship where you could like actually pop up on them, where there's no
Mm,
prep time because you could prepare like yeah, come
good
on and
point.
spend a week, you know, and you could be on your p's and q's and making it feel all
True.
safe. But it's when people totally relaxed, you know, on a random Friday is how they're gonna react, like how they're gonna keep the place, how they're gonna treat you, how they operate on a day to day. It gotta be when they ain't total relaxing. When not when you give them too much prep time. So let's you come to the like a good standard, we could be like, let's come into the Sean house for a week. And I ain't tell you, but the relationship's strong enough that I could do that, then I could more align with it. But like when I like if I planning it and like, coming over the weekend, that's when you want to map the floor and
Hey, I feel that. I
sweep
feel that.
That's
Yeah.
valid. That's valid for sure.
Yeah,
You know.
because
And then
I ain't gonna lie, I don't self need that much prep time. You don't have time. Hey, I know everybody been through it. You get a text like, "Yeah, man, I coming over Miss Sunday, clean." I never. Hey, my
Hey.
mother would be so proud to see me in that moment and pissed off because she gonna be like, "What? You had this in you the whole time?" Regular day is struggling
Exactly.
like, "Wow, taking an hour, Miss Son, you get off that text or
Yeah.
that phone call."
I'm
Then
I
she
away.
comment.
start to take 15 seconds to wash man real quick and yeah, man. So now I feel that. I will say though,
yeah.
to close that topic up, I am
Mhm.
a man now at least now. The one thing I must have within that space is my own space within the space though. I'm not going to lie to you. I need
And
a
Mm-hmm.
that's
spot where I could go in and have my own zen decorated how I want it to be decorated. And nobody can really tell me anything about that spot. I value that so much more now, especially working from home for the most part and stuff. But in the older ages, man, I've been in that escape. Especially if I get pissed
True.
off at you. As a man, I get pissed off. I go in and book a hotel. Like I don't sometimes and that's, to be honest, that's not necessarily be a good thing, but for me, I feel it's necessary just to have a space where I could just sit down and think and kind of focus without having everybody around, children, whatever the case may be, just that one room. So
I want to
That's
hear
fair. That's fair.
before you close out on that. I want to hear Catherine's take on you know you escaping, but
Like
leaving
having that space within your space.
not the space within the space, the hotel. Like completely
Escaping by
leaving
means of leaving and
of
booking a
leaving the
hotel.
of
house,
leaving the
Yeah.
home, having a space within your own space. I understand that, but
And
actually fleeing the scene to luxury.
so like
no, you see that, that he, that how why you
You
had to
want that?
say shit
You
like
want
that.
that? Fuck up that.
so like you
Oh.
basically asking me how I feel about like either person like just wanting to essentially go on a mini vacation by themselves to kind of cool out on their own in a hotel
Per
room.
se,
Essentially, such a it's a high. It's a there was a argument of some kind. Shit
like a
hit the fan. You
hiatus to
kind of
cool
pissed
down.
off, and you kind of just instead of going take a drive, you go and book the Four
A hotel for
Seasons
the
to
night.
relax.
Mm.
Do you think that's healthy?
Uh, I think that it could be as long as other elements are applied to like ensure actual restoration. Because I
Mm.
could speak on breaks in general when it comes to that there, right? I for as long as I have been in relationships in general, I have never really supported the idea of a break because when I was younger, I always interpreted that as like either you going break up or we ain't resolving the problem or you going to like do other stuff you want to do and then try to come back like everything blessed. You check.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that the best function like of a break is what it's supposed to be intended for, to de-escalate your emotional chargedness in order to come back and actually resolve the issue. So if for whatever reason you like super cross that like, hey, I too cross for this thing, I need a 3-day vacation to the Four Seasons. But watch out, when we come back, babe, we can talk about this thing really, really specifically and get on to the nitty gritty. But I just really need some time to like to decompress. On paper, I think that it's cool beans, but like in application, I've seen and heard of too many kind of mishaps to be like, yeah, man, fellas,
Yeah.
ladies, people, go ahead and think that they check like
Yeah.
me know about that day in actual real time application. But the principle of it, I think like in regards to like you just wanting to cool out for yourself and just kind of decompress, I think that in and of itself is fine. I see people talk about that, the need for that all the time, especially depending on what types of everyday stresses they have. Single moms in general, really to talk about that stuff all the time. And so like I think anybody is deserving of that, but you have to bake in genuine intent to restore whatever it is that's going on. I think is what
100%.
gonna
Yeah.
really make that day whole.
No, that totally makes sense. Well said.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's
Definitely.
exactly why I did. That's why that hotel thing come up. Cause that's literally what I did. It wasn't 3 days though. Only one night for me.
Oh, yeah,
Only
Yeah,
Mhm.
one
three
night.
days. 3
reasonable.
days are a little while to cool
Yeah,
off.
that's all
That's
right.
that's a little
That's
while.
questionable.
Mhm.
That's days and
Yeah.
nights. Yeah.
That's our
See,
plan.
if I got a bus for if I got a bus for 3 days, it's like wow, what you really do to me, man? Like, wait, man, you ain't like and subscribe yet? Take time. Go ahead and do that for me. I
But
feel it.
before we jump into the next topic, I did want to re-emphasize the
Mm.
importance of having your own space and your own individuality, especially when you reach to that point of living with your significant other, your spouse, your wife, of having something for you. Because time and time again, especially for women, I mean, even before kids, a lot of women tend to not have hobbies, and
True.
what happens in that situation is it oftentimes hyper focus on a lot of the little things that you do, and it's more of a nuisance when it's really supposed to be something it's pretty small. But because they don't have their own things, yeah, and it happens with us too, because we don't have our own things to focus on, we start to hyper focus on everything else, because that essentially becomes our hobby, whether it's intentional or it's conscious or not. It becomes that hobby, and it can create some very negative spaces. So that's why I think it's just so important to have your own thing, so you could have that sense of individuality, that sense of just peace within a relationship that's just you. So that I just wanted to step into that a bit more with that re-emphasis. Anything
Anybody else
else
want to touch
before
on
we
that?
jump on?
Loose the question, man. Loose it.
We're gonna pivot from our schedule a little bit. We spoke on breaks, we spoke on healing a little bit. Kevin alluded to something like people going out and doing different things and they break and come back. The reality nowadays, a lot of people in these kind of situations, they end their relationship. But a common thing that I've seen on the social media that I've said before, that I've seen plenty of people do before, is as soon as they get out of bad relationships, they start to say they're about to enter the whole phase. Whether it's from a man saying, yo, he going and deal up with this girl, or a woman saying, hey, this hot girl, someone using it loosely, but is hoeing healing? Is there healing in hoeing? What is your thoughts on that?
I want to jump in really quick, because my overall answer is no. And the reason I say that is because healing comes from within, and you using any type of external source to try to find that healing, where you can arrive at that through Hoeing in a sense, but it's still because you decide to look within after that period of time of realizing that, yo, what the fuck am I doing? And then you start to really self-reflect. It can stimulate that, sure, but I feel like healing generally comes from when you intentionally decide to look within, and it has nothing to do with anything external to yourself.
It's not bad, not bad. Anybody else want to before before I speak on what I think?
I mean,
I wanna hear what you think.
No, man, Brian, you ain't speaking a good word, man. Go ahead, man, Brian. Go ahead, man, Brian. What do you think? Is there healing realistically?
Realistically, there's no healing at home. I like you could be relieving pressure if you got some pressure build up and you need to, put it out there. I for that, but don't consider it healing. Hoeing is hoeing. If you hoeing, for revenge, hoeing because you felt like you missed out on something, hoeing to relieve the pressure, I support that. Man or woman, that's your life. Let's do it safely, bro. To call it healing and say you're going on a journey by
finding
bullet,
yourself and thing.
finding yourself in the bed of a stranger, let's be realistic. Come on. You're fooling yourself because you're fooling me. If you want to be the yellow lines on the road and say you're in the streets, so be it. But don't call it healing, you know?
Talk to me, Kenny. I go in completely last, man, because every time on this pod, I get painted as like the neighbor or the horror or something. But
Nah,
I no, cause
I,
a lot of times
I,
it's my stories, them getting exposed, and them thing. I sit in this one in the
hey,
back seat, I laugh
hey, I would
myself
say,
and the show
you
was.
see, so I think maybe I probably might probably kind of tailor this is hoeing healing to a more of a matter is casual, physical, casual encounters. You know, so I think it's more of a matter of I do think it opens up a pathway for you to heal or to get over that person. Maybe it may not be the best way or the more appropriate way to go about it, but I do think in time. So like I'll use my example. Since I'll be the bad guy, I'll be the villain today. But it's like I've been hurt before, and I'm not going to say like I went out to try and dog out a heap of woman for the sake of healing purposes. But I think my mentality was I thought I couldn't find someone else again. And then granted I had some partners, some friends who was like, dude, like life is gonna keep going. You're gonna always find somebody else better. So I did start to explore more casual dating, more for the sake of talking to different, women, just trying to feel out, I would say try to get over that in that person. But like what Farah kind of segue to is like, I do think healing is something eternally. So I had to be good with myself first to say like, what, I am okay being by myself. I'm okay if I talk to Susie, Sandra, Veronica, whoever it may be. And I guess that's kind of like how I kind of played the game a bit, you know what I mean? Would I consider it like straight on full blown Hoeing? No,
Okay.
but I would say it was more I dated people, I dated more individuals. I got to know people. Was other things involved? Yeah, probably sure, whatever. Was I locked in to where I was trying to form commitments with these individuals? No, I wasn't. But that's kind of what my point. I guess that's how I view it as, Is it Owen? Maybe it is. But
But let me ask you this then: were you, since you say it was just to get to know them and you had no intention of being in any kind of relationship with them,
mm,
could you say then that you were engaging in these encounters to get your confidence back, to see if you still had it?
probably. But I think the confidence, it wasn't like I would say it was like a lack of confidence. It was more of a matter of me comparing my past relationship to what else
So
I'm
what
going to
what you looking for now?
yeah,
Okay.
so it's like, well, this girl was the best thing since fried rice, you know what I mean? But then it's like I met somebody else who could make some better fried rice, And like, I guess it wasn't me to just lock down. I'm not going to say that once you find your person, your person is your person. But I think we as men, we tend to have a delusion of, I could be wrong. I only speak for myself, right? That if something doesn't work out, it's the end of the world. You know, that's the end all be all. I can't move on. I can't move forward with my life. And I think if there's a matter of that realization is like that tell yourself like it's okay, dog. Still got a lot of plenty fish in the sea, and then you move and you take the appropriate steps to move forward.
Fair. Kev,
Yeah.
talk to me. What do you think?
Yes, sir. So right off the bat, my answer is no. But let me explain why I have empathy for those who do think that hoeing is healing, right? And for that, I'm gonna dig into my psychology bag real quick. You check. Are
Jeez.
you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
A little bit.
I ever heard. So it's
I've
I've
heard
heard
it,
of
basically
but
it.
no, not familiar to the.
it's basically like a pyramid that describes like a series of our human needs
Mm.
that range from the most basic thing like food,
Shelter.
sex,
Yeah.
water, then you get shelter, then you get belongingness, self-esteem, and self-actualization, right? And
Yeah.
self-actualization is basically describing where we are able to reach our highest potential. And so when we break down kind of what like self-esteem is the fourth part or the fourth level of that pyramid, this the one before self-actualization.
Mm.
When a relationship ends or any kind of disappointment we might experience, it'll impact our self-esteem, right, in some way, shape, or form, because we start to draw negative conclusions about ourselves and different things that we do.
Mm.
And as Tafari and Kenny mentioned, that healing definitely comes from within. You have to be able to stimulate that yourself. However, the belongingness portion is below the self esteem. And what that tells us is that in order to contribute to establishing a healthy sense of self, we have to interact with how others perceive us and
Perceive us.
experience us. So there is an external element, right? But where the yesers may go wrong is to the degree by which that motivation continues to be extrinsic versus converting it into an intrinsic kind of way. So like,
Hmm.
and that's influenced by like a lot of stuff. For men especially, I find that our culture around the merit and valor that we are conditioned to get from the idea of sleeping with so many women, that cultivates our idea of what our sense of self should be revolved around. You check. So what that means is that you kind of have like that as a default and not by your own choice. You check. So like you enter a breakup. We are already in very well conditioned to really interact and process our emotions, so we don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? And you just defaulting into what you have been repeatedly kind of exposed to, and that is the idea. Like, yeah, you just got up your body count or something like that, or
To
just
feel good about yourself.
or just the natural extremely stimulating aspects of sex in and of itself. And so when we absorb that, if we having those kind of experience, if you have previously told yourself like, man, I worthless, nobody attracted to me, I can't get nobody else again, if you aren't able to take your external experiences and use those as evidence for you being a person worthwhile, then you will continue to eat that kind of validation for breakfast and not actually internalize it. It's like the difference between consuming something and internalizing it. It's like you consuming something, it'll go out like waste and you need it again. But if you're
Mm.
internalizing it, that it
Just
housed
saying that.
within you. You know what I mean? It's staying there. And so that kind of loop, going from the consumption to internalization, is really the hard part. And I think what will really differentiate what people believe to be healing in that stage versus what healing actually means.
Right. That
Yeah, solid
that
point.
was
Solid
beautiful,
point.
dog.
God,
God damn.
Yeah.
I gotta change my life.
That
I
was
gotta go change my
beautiful.
life now. Damn, I gotta change my life. Like
Yeah.
what? I gotta
It's
start
it's
internalizing.
it's an interesting conversation, and I had to pay attention because like even when you were speaking, Kenny, about it, you used the term "dogging out." That's to show like the kind of mindset that comes behind it. Even though you may not necessarily
Mm.
mean that that's what most people would think. You know what I'm saying? Is I'm hurt about this situation. So now because of what she put me through, at least from the male perspective, because of what she put me through, for one, I'm not going to commit to you enough. But I can commit enough to be out there having raw sex with you, gallivanting, like you
Anything
is
I
my
gotta do,
woman
yeah.
essentially. And then I doing this
Mm.
across the boards of multiple women who, for the majority, well, I won't say that. I don't want to say the majority. Who, for a lot of men, ain't even gonna tell you the truth behind my intentions because in the first place, I never intended to even pursue a relationship with you. I
Yeah.
was looking for that external source of healing. Well, I really
Mm.
like what you said, Kevin. That was very, very, very well said. I couldn't say it better myself. I didn't self think about
She,
certain aspects in terms of what you said, but I agree that there. I don't think there's any healing in Hoeing, at least no kind of healthy form of healing to become from home.
mm.
And I actually think it make more sense to take a good break from even dealing with the other party in terms of women or dating for some time after a breakup so that you could sit here and identify the things that you need to self-identify, get yourself back in a different headspace. Because let's say you had been in a relationship for the last 5 years, you have molded yourself into kind of a person within that relationship. To now be with outside a relationship goes back to what we were talking about Fire I was saying earlier, is now I need to figure out what kind of individual I am
I am
when I'm
without that person.
outside. Yeah, when I'm outside the relationships, if I still jumping into going into dating and doing these things, I set myself and that person possibly hypothetically up for failure. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes more sense to take the time and establish that. Figure out what your habits were. Did you even have habits during a relationship of your own? You know what I'm saying? Don't just run to a crutch for now. Somebody have to essentially try to heal you. That
Yeah.
don't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? And that's why people say sometimes like how much relationships you've been in and how did your last relationship end? That's why that's such an important question sometimes because you never know. You want to be able to it's like a lot of things are about gambling. You want to be able to gamble in the right direction and know what you're getting yourself into. So as much as people will say, hey, don't worry about my past and them kind of things, Nah, I do want to know a little bit about it. Not saying that you're defined by that past, but
Like the
some
things
things
you
are
learn
habits.
from your past, what habits you
Exactly,
formulate, what your thought processes as a result of certain experiences. Because
precisely.
especially if we get
Facts.
into some kind of situation, I would want to know how you typically would tackle that kind of thing. Because like everybody is different, so we have diversity, and disagreements and conflict are a natural byproduct of diversity. And so
Facts.
we need to understand where we are on that coordinate so that we can know how to get back into a certain place.
And
You
I
know what
can
I
know
mean?
what to expect and show you grace
Exactly.
when grace is needed to show. Now, if I don't do
True.
those things and stuff start popping up, now you're charged up and pissed off. Now is yeah, you know why been true. Nah, 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 you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Let's just tackle that in the front.
True.
Same way, like knowing people's family as well, because you can have them same. Like, I know your family don't define you, but a lot of habits carry over. A
It
lot of
does.
Mm.
habits carry
It
over. So
does.
now I can
Hey,
better identify like what's going on.
your
And you know,
environment is a lot. Your environment, you can't underestimate your environment. Cause like to briefly visit back like the culture thing, even these ideas of like what it mean to establish, grow, and recover a healthy relationship. That is stuff that we learning now. You know what I
true.
mean? Like
Come on.
from the time I was in elementary school, I get classmates talking about all of these highly stimulating thing about getting girl in elementary school, my boy, but not one person really talking about a healthy relationship. I ain't really had no real example of that either
Mm.
in like my parents, my friends' parents, because a lot of them might have been separated or something. And so like a lot of that really influence your thought processes because that's what you exposed to, and so you just regard that as a norm without even thinking about it.
Facts.
You know, I think another thing too is that what you guys been talking about is also by knowing that past or at least having that conversation is being able to establish, certain set of boundaries, you know, without knowing you don't know how to kind of gauge yourself with that person as well. You come out of a bad relationship to where things were not that matter, but like establishing or respecting certain boundaries, and then you don't go into that new relationship doing the same thing, treating it that with that past relationship. But having that conversation to be able to say like, you know what, this is what failed in my last relationship. So, me as an individual moving forward, this is what I'm going to be doing to establish better communication, um, establishing, more empathy, being able to open up more, and I do think that's another big, huge, important thing, is kind of maintaining, establishing, and staying true to those boundaries.
It
And
goes
you know,
back
you know
to
what they say. One thing that it is is that your past don't exist in the past. Your past exists in the future because the things that you experienced in the past, all the meanings and stories that you created from those various experiences, kind of dictates how you operate and how you move towards things that's
Forward.
coming, that's going to be coming. So they say that your past exists in the future, and the reality is that nor the past,
mm,
nor the future, nor the past exists because all you have is right now, and all the stories
Mm,
that you did create is that all it is, stories. Those events, yes, they did happen, but that's all they are. They're just something that happened, and they don't necessarily have any definitive meaning outside of what you created for it. So just something to keep in mind, because just speaking to the power that we have in our own minds, and that we don't have to create those meanings, and oftentimes those stories cause us to act and move in certain ways. And in the case of a relationship, because we experience certain things like that, and because we had meanings and add those stories to those specific situations, we kind of move forward with other relationships in acting accordingly.
let me ask you a
scrupulous. What's
question.
the word? Scrupulous. Scrupulous. Captain, what's the word? Scrupulous.
Or script, yeah, probably, yeah. I, yeah, yeah, scrupulous.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I can research. Let me
Why
Google.
we're going, but one thing I'm going to ask before we move from the healing in Hoeing, because and this is standing on the biases of society where men having a lot of partners is not an issue. So bear with me, guys. So it's gonna be speaking for men, because I do think it's different for women. But let's
We ain't getting into this, but let's go, man.
Yeah.
the reality. I do think that there is there can be growth in Hoeing. Like say that the man conquers the world, and he is no longer interested in just these baseless sex, and he don't care about that. He's now bored of that, and he wants something deeper and something more rooted, something grounded. He no longer has that temptation anymore. That's grounds to create the most loyal man in history. That don't even think about that because he already conquered the world.
That's also grounds to create the most cheatingest man in history too.
Exactly.
It can,
Cheatiness.
but because you already got that out your system, and now it is no longer sex that you crave.
So
It's
why is that even
I
in
think
the
it depends.
system, though?
it depends on the person specifically.
No, I was gonna say it depend on. Remember the concept I introduced earlier about consuming versus like internalizing. Because what you probably defining as getting it out your system is you consuming or experiencing this enough to where you can look back at this evidence and really bask in the gratitude of your accomplishments and achievements to then convert that into an eternally revolving thing. Like, yeah, I could interact with women successfully, and now I think I can take it to the next level. It requires a set definition of where you are and where you want to go, in addition to a certain level of emotional intelligence as well to
I was waiting for the word
understand
drop.
to understand that, like, hey, I find a lot of this here enjoying, and I might have to release a lot of like the addicted qualities that come with it. So that's what I mean by like it making the break in between the most loyal man in history or the most cheatingest man in history. Because as we see from addiction, it's a very hard thing to break, no matter what it is that you're addicted to.
So take it from Kef men. That is way too much of a risk to try to conquer the world to then become the most loyalist man. All right?
Yeah. Will
Because
Chamberlain ain't succeed at that at all.
the fruits of temptation can be very hard to not crave. All right?
Yeah,
Let's be loyal out here, guys.
How you really gonna define? Okay, at what point did the world get conquered? Like at what point?
When
You know what I'm saying?
you going, let's
you
say
gonna
you
move the
gone through
goalpost.
Let the goalpost get
100,000.
moved. Yeah.
No,
You
she
reach
said
to
100,000.
points where you could no longer even you feel nothing anymore. You're numb. You're numb to sex. You don't care about that shit no more. You want something deeper because just this meaningless sex don't mean shit. It's starting
It
to
just seems like
feel
avoidance.
as meaningless as it is. You check. So now you ready for something deeper. You ready for love. You ready for something that's there, man. And now you come with the ridiculous experience too, and you find that seed to grow and to uproot, and you realize, whoa. But then if the wife ain't good, you're gonna be like, shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, like,
whoa.
say what? You know what? All I don't deal with to have to compare. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
they say man ain't gonna do that, but if I deal with that much woman and you come and you not like, it gonna be
Never
half of
mind.
it even decide I want to be with you. I don't.
I
Deal with
recant my statement, guys.
Oh,
I don't
man,
think
yeah,
that'll work, man.
I
ain't
want to
gonna
ask
work.
you a question, and it's based on a real experience that happened. How do you guys feel about like telling someone that they need to heal? And I give some context of why I asked the question. So I had a partner where he was going through a situation in which I would just give the full situation. He had essentially decided that anytime a woman gets pregnant by him, they're about to have a child, he wants a paternity test. Now, in his experience, he's had children that was put on him that was not his. So for him, it's like I just don't want to go back and repeat the same mistake. So then he explaining this to a woman, and we know how some will react, whereas now it's a question of, well, you don't trust me? Why do you need to do this? Do you not trust me? And then she proceeded to say that, man, that you need to heal. He took that so offensively because from his perspective, he's like, it's not about me healing. I'm just kind of trying to not repeat the same mistake. Like, what do you guys think about that statement? Do you need to heal? And that specific situation, like,
I don't think there's necessarily an issue with telling somebody that they need to heal, especially after observing something that they have taken with them from the past, and that they create some type of hurt and just disruption in their peace, and you observe that, and you actually trying to genuinely be caring, genuinely care for them, and just let them know that maybe therapy would be good for you, because it seems like there's a place where you need to heal, and that you haven't done so as of yet. But I do think that some people may use it in more of a aggressive type manner, where they just trying to insult the person. I think it's how you deliver it and where it's coming from, the place that it's coming from.
I agree.
And I definitely say that, but I could definitely see where that term or that you need to heal can be perceived as an attack. Um, and I think when someone says that or use that, I think it's more like like some people just tell you something instead of fully understand it. It's almost like they trying to give you like a cop out response, like oh well, obviously you have a problem. I don't have that problem, so you need to fix yourself. But instead of them having the understanding to be like, well, I don't really see that's the problem, but I need to further understand why that may be a problem for you. Like I've been in a not I've been in a situation, but I know someone who's been in a situation, and um his wife was very I can say like verbally abusive. Like she's telling him all kind of crazy stuff, like you're a dumbass, you're this, you're that, whatever. But she used that in a response to any time he does something so simple. So I think she was projecting based off of trauma that she's had with, right? And that's what she knows. So I think he told her like, hey, you need to go to therapy. She took it to such a huge extreme. It was like, oh, I need a divorce. I'm done with this relationship. If anybody needs therapy, it's you, because you can't deal with me, or this, that, and third. And I'm just like, what was so offensive about the fact that he's saying that you needed therapy? Was it because other people have told you that you needed therapy before? Or is it more of a matter of she was so caught up with the fact that there's nothing wrong with how I act or how I go about doing stuff? You know what I mean?
Well, for one, everybody needs some therapy. So
True.
if you're
I agree.
listening,
True.
yeah, even if it's once in a blue, it may not. Sometimes it may not come directly from. Just everybody needs therapy. I'll just leave it there.
Okay, this is what I was saying. The scenario you presented well.
Go ahead.
One, I'm gonna address the actual scenario, and then I'm gonna give my opinion. I don't necessarily feel like he's wrong. Like you said, he's been wrong before. And I think if he's upfront with it to the beginning of the relationship, like, hey, if we get into a stage where we may be considering kids, this has happened to me in the past, and is a deal breaker if this is something that you're not willing to commit to. It's a simple conversation. That way, it don't come up as a surprise. Like, oh, no, you're pregnant, we've been together, now you're asking me for paternity test. No. I made that clear to you. Been wrong. A couple children point me now that wasn't mine. Honestly, I feel like in this day and age, it should be a mandatory, even if we is the only two people who've been with each other for our entire lives. I think just like if I got signed a ball paper, I should be swabbed immediately. That's just my opinion. But I feel like if he has gone through this trauma and he doesn't want to go through it again, and he's making it evident, I don't think it's something for somebody or his partner to placate.
Mm.
It's not like to tell you. But I also believe like what Kenneth was saying, I think is a time and a place and exactly how you present it. I think like
Mhm.
during like from what I've learned from my partner, because I've done it, is a time and a place to present something like in that heat of the moment, that probably wouldn't be the best thing to say to that person, especially after he may have communicated that to her or based on his experience, like in that heat of the moment, like, oh, you need to do this on the thought, like maybe find a way that you could actually help them. Maybe like you were mentioning, for like if something you noticing is being ongoing, that means there's other times and other spaces that you could have probably presented at instead of when things escalated to that moment and check like, no, I want you to do this, and now you telling me like, oh, I need to go and do this. But you help me along and give me some guidance before you just like toss it on me. And I'm saying it. I don't know how it was presented, but like if you just saying, oh, you need to go and seek help. And that day and time, maybe that's not what they want to hear. Like maybe when
Yeah.
lax mode,
Hormones.
that they could actually digest, that information or that suggestion. Yes. So that's my take.
I see what you're saying.
Wait, wait.
Realistically,
How
right?
long he been with a girl? How long he found been with a girl?
They weren't even together, bro. That was like it was like what Brian was saying. It was a precursor conversation, but that wasn't the initial problem. The initial problem was the heel statement. He felt like that was kind of she came off a little disrespectful in saying it. But I do want to
Mhm.
address that because I want to address the communication of even communicating something like that, which I feel is the lack when you're telling somebody you need to heal, as well as telling somebody you need to go to therapy. For one, there's already
A
well
stigma.
in the terms of the and therapy. So as soon as you tell somebody they need therapy, is like accusing them of being crazy or something, and then you're calling out what may be insecurities about that person. So to say you need to do, even saying that statement, to me,
Mhm.
removing that statement does more good than saying you need to do this or you need to do the therapy. Like change the conversation and say that hey, I've been noticing that for one, like you guys were saying, in my opinion, remove that conversation from that immediate moment. No, and then come back around sometime and say, hey, I've been noticing this, that. How do you feel about these things? First of all, to figure out if that person feel like they need to heal or why they're acting in this manner, and then say, hey, have you ever considered going to therapy? Or have you ever considered, you know what I'm saying? Because it's sung a lot better than because most of the time
Mhm.
when you're telling somebody they need to heal or they need to go to therapy, the majority of the time comes in the moment. It's never
Yep.
really like I just, oh yeah, we're just cooling one day and I, hey, you know what? You need to go to therapy. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? That was something happened and then you call out there's something that happened. So it's gonna be
Yeah.
hard to kind of navigate that conversation, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I definitely glad you mentioned that, Eddie Sean, because that's what you speaking to is pretty much my take on it. You check because like when there's nothing wrong with the spirit of relaying to somebody that they need to heal, because what the spirit of it entails is that you're trying to tell somebody that there is a gap between where you are now and a healthier version of like where you could be. And so the problem is definitely like in the delivery. So like when when you delivering any kind of like feedback or anything, like two ingredients that I think are really important is you need to target the behaviors, the observable behaviors, as opposed to like them an identity when you're talking about what it is that is going on. And you
Mhm.
also need to describe very clearly the impact to you or whoever it is you're talking about. So
A
like
good point.
if if whoever that girl is, when she tell Father Abraham that he needed to heal, like she needed to describe to Father Abraham, this is why checking out with him, with you.
Mhm.
You check. And even in the case of your boy Father Abraham,
Mhm.
because it's not like you have many sons, by the way. That's why I'm asking you. And like being able to kind of apply the context and his concerns could definitely help with smoothing over that kind of communication. Because I know
Mhm.
that DNA thing, that's such a touchy thing for so many people. And so that situation is very unique.
Mhm.
And it's important to communicate like his own vulnerabilities in that, even in spite of potential negative reactions. But in terms of like that statement, like the spirit of it is completely fine, but like you want to particularly focus on the behaviors, the observable behaviors, because that's where you could observe and verify, and that's where the person could change. You
Mhm.
can't just target a person identity. That's that's who they is. So like
Yeah.
instead of you
Right.
saying you such a dumbass, like talk about the thing that happened that upsets you, the action that upsets you, and
Yeah.
describe the specific impact. You check, that's going to go over a lot better.
And to add
You know?
on to that, in giving in anything that you relate to somebody that may have some type of negative rebuttal, the you statements, guys. It, when you say you this, you that, you this, you that, it's almost 100% of the time, I would say 28 out of 30 times, that person is going to get defensive and it's not going to be a constructive conversation anymore, because all they're hearing is you, and they're seeing a combative nature and feeling a combative nature from those you statements. So let's try to rearrange how we give criticism and how we communicate these types of things to people. And like
You
Catherine
know,
said, that's a perfect way to do it, with how it impacts you, the observable behaviors. Start to use I statements more, and and go from there.
I don't know if I kind of attack on, but one of the things that I know I learned, and is very, I'm pretty glad that you brought that up, Farah, is like one of the things I've learned. I've went to therapy before, and one of the things that I learned was when I'm addressing an issue or problem, I address the feeling, the action. So it's like, you're always doing this, you always doing that. It was like, hey, I noticed when you did this, it makes me feel this type of way. When you do this, or not necessarily like when you do this, it was like, I feel this way when this happens. So I'm always focusing or addressing the action, not the individual, the action. So like, I'm really glad that you brought that up. Just like, that's one of the things I know I learned. I'm still working on as a person. So yeah.
Yeah, I gotta work on
Yeah.
that same way.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
It
it's
really
just
is.
it's how we grow up communicated, man. You have
Yeah.
to, it's something to unlearn. You still might make you statements, even in you you making them I statements and trying to communicate better. You still definitely gonna be in a sentence at some place at
Yep.
some time.
Yep.
It's
That's
just
fair.
where it lands, and the emphasis on
And
how it lands. All these different
how we
things
arrange it. Yep.
plays a part in what they hear. So it's just a work in progress, really.
Yep.
I think that's the actionable items to focus on communication. I want to give a shameless plug. As you see, MindHack Sack here, he also has a platform, MindHack Sack, a podcast, in which he does talk about effective communicating, active listening, disagreements, and these things on that platform, and gives very actionable items that you could be able to take away and apply into your life, and just to spark your thinking and make you think about different things that you may have not thought about before, or some things that you want to teach to that could be helpful for other people. So definitely big up Mind Hat Sack. I'll go check
Yeah,
out my
thanks,
boy
man.
platform and go
Man,
learn
big up, big up.
some things. With
And
that,
before
go ahead, my bad.
we are jumping into the next topic.
I was,
Oh
but
well,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
You
Go ahead.
sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm positive. I'm positive.
All
That's how
right.
I live.
Positive.
We this was a heavy conversation so far. I want to lighten it up a little bit. It might still end up into a heavy discuss maybe, but what do you guys think is the difference between, I don't know even what you think. Is there a clear line that you can see between a gold digger and a woman with standards? Like, how are you able to identify this, especially in this day and age? If it could come to it could feel like a lot of women only after your money. And don't get me wrong, I have had countless experience where I just meet a girl for 2 days and she done ask me about paying bills and so forth.
Parent.
But it creates this level of fear, whether it's a real thing or not, in the community. So what you guys think is a way to kind of distinguish between somebody who is interested in just you for your what you have, or somebody who just has certain standards in which they are not willing to move on?
What I
Ah,
will say, I want to start, because what I will say is I feel like a lot of people, a lot of women use the disguise of standard when they really are exhibiting gold digger type behaviors, and they attribute that to that being a standard. Oh, I meet you for the first time, you must pay my phone bill, you have to pay something for me. Some people consider that a standard, but really, from the perspective of a man, that's gold digger type behavior. That's not okay for me to just meet you 2 days in and I paying your whole car note, your whole light bill or something. But some women would actually consider that as that's just a standard. My man needs to provide for me. This is something that I need to have from my man before I could take him serious. So I do think that in many cases, what they consider to be a standard is really just that, being a gold digger and using it as an excuse for being such. Um, what I will say, after you identify that as just being an excuse and not part of the standards, finding women that are separate from gold diggers is a bit easier, because you really just really on the first date you could kind of identify that, honestly. With just the types of conversations you have, and they're not going to ask those types of questions. I mean, and as time progresses, if it transitions to that, maybe it just took a little while for the gold digger to be able to come out. But that's a great red flag to identify our gold digger, I'd say. So yeah, I'll stop there for now.
You see, I
Kev,
guess for me is Catherine.
no, I know Kev was going to say something before Farah start. I don't know if you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
go.
I was going to say, like, I think some key um the answer to your original question toward the end, I think like some key ways to, I guess, help establish the difference for you is communication. Really trying your best to find out where they at with these types of things as early as possible, in combination with the strength of your own boundaries, right? Because, like,
Mm,
to be honest, Tafara, I don't know if something like that is guaranteed to be able to be found out in just one kind of setting. And
Sitting.
even in your elaboration, you mentioned like, oh, they could be holding it down for like this amount of time, and then
right.
boom, they check. So, like, I think the thing that's primarily within your control is your boundaries. What is your threshold? What are you willing to do on
Mm-hmm.
the first date, second date, third date with this person at this stage, that stage, and all of that stuff, and what you willing to tolerate, and also what you want to find out, and how you communicate that when you find that a particular level or area, it seems to be like getting crossed. Because, to be honest with you, I don't think that this is a easily distinguishable thing, especially now when everybody is on so high alert for these for these things, because you can't just look at one particular action and then just
Right.
go, oh yeah, there go digger, right? There could be various reasons why this thing happened. Even in the most ignorant cases, right? The person, I see a message where somebody screenshot a girl after a first date asking the man, you could help me pay for rent. There is absolutely a situation where this person could very much be a gold digger and, like, well, I'm on a date with you. You need to provide. But it could also be a very fringe situation where this person just come into some really challenging situations, and they have absolutely no one to ask, and they brazen enough to ask you for help. And so, like, it's it's a it's it's definitely rare, right? But, like,
That's how I was
it's
gonna
it
say it.
it's not impossible. And so,
Right.
like, because
True.
it's not impossible, I don't think that it's ever really a good idea for both you as the individual, as well as you and them, like how you react to them, to just kind of assume gold digger right off the bat. Because, like, it's impossible to discern somebody's intent. You can't access them and task directly. And so, like, that's where, like, the communication comes in, as well as your boundaries, your threshold, what you want to deal with, and how you going to deal with it if it come up.
Kenny, Brian.
Yeah, so I guess like to that was really a good point, different, you know. So it's kind of hard to discern intense, but like to answer the question, like what would be the big difference between like a gold digger or a woman with standards is like I was gonna say intentions would be like one big one, right? Another big factor I would think is like expectations, like mutuality. Um, kind of exhibiting and sharing, like a gold digger wouldn't be someone who's going to contribute to a common or shared goal, or probably contribute at least equal or maybe something towards that common goal. I think another big factor would be like emotional connection, not you being lovey dovey or having a connection because I just buy you a Rolls Royce and calling it and be like, oh my gosh, he loves me, And I think another big thing that I've been thinking about is like a long term goal. I think I realized like gold diggers or that term gold digger is a person who would want to who's just like playing the stocks, or just like you're gonna buy in right now and then you're gonna sell out when something else, a next stock next stock comes in. So I think it's like those factors is what kind of dwells or kind of encompasses the differences between a woman with standards and a gold digger. So I do think a woman with standards, she could have certain intentions like seeking stability, for the sake of having a stable, secure life. But I think a gold digger would just be like, well, I only using this relationship to just buy me the next J's or buy me that Gucci bag or whatever. So I think
Yeah.
it can be distinguishable. Communication is going to play a key. But I do think there are some telltale signs to let you know earlier, some red flags, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term, to let you know,
For sure.
like, hey, well, what kind of business they are.
Yep. They're
Yeah. And
responding
I
to
think
be everything for real.
With Brandon, get to
one
work.
big I was gonna just say I think there's one big distinction is how materialistic that person is, especially
True.
depending on the phase of when y'all talking. It, Brian?
Yeah.
Valid points. Valid points. I think there's for me, there's a big distinction between the two, a gold digger and woman standards. Even though money's involved in both, I don't think there's for a woman of standards, there's really a problem with knowing what you want. In terms of most women want somebody who has something at least. uh, Speaking from the woman standards, somebody who has at least equal to or more than what they have. And for me, I see it more of from a sense of like security. That's usually what women look for. That's one of the main things they look for: security. Having equal to or more to give them the sense of security. Because in the goals of the relationship, they may have to sacrifice a little bit more when it comes to their body. In case you may pregnant, they need to know that you will be able to take care of them and provide for them in that aspect. Or you just seen a bum, they just want a certain caliber of man, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of gold diggers, I blame men for that. Because a lot of y'all be out here peacocking, showing off
Thank
y'all.
you. That's what we're gonna
Check.
come in with. Yeah, I'm letting everybody cooking it. That's what I'm gonna come in with.
Yeah,
Continue, Brandon.
blame, I blame the fellas. I mean, you out here peacocking and you flaunting. I mean, of course I would take advantage of that. You willing to dish out this money because you can't get any other way. That's your fault. People get caught up in that gold digger thing, and it's like these money coming in your pocket and taking the money away from you. You're giving it up willingly.
Straight away.
So putting those brandish names on them is like shame on you. Like the reason they get away with it is because there's so much people willing to put up with it. Like you think if no fellas were out
That's
here
fair.
actually hitting up those cash apps will still be in people's bios. You check. You think if there weren't people who were just buying Birkins for no reason, people would just be saying you got to buy me a Birkin? No, it's because people is out here doing it. We are out here flaunting the money and they literally looking at this guy having all of these things. He's really showing that he has it. Let me see if I could piece up on it. And it's like it's a gold rush. If I could knock on you and get even something off of you, I can't blame them. That's your fault for letting them chip up on you because that's what you are here to the whole. So there's a
Before,
big
oh
difference
my bad.
between standard. No, I want you to chime in. That's how I like to talk. Go ahead.
Before I do chime in though, I want to ask a question. Why anytime we having a conversation about money and woman, we always go to a Birkin. We go to something that the majority of us niggas or woman is not even getting that. Like when we
But
can
that'll
some
be the
like a
thing.
course
I don't
bag or
hear the.
something.
That's the thing. They want the Cinderella story because I mean the reality that somebody in the circles that most of these women is actually going to give they throw away this term so heavily when they don't even know the price tag on these items like even a coach or a simple Gucci bag is way beyond your means,
That's
but
fucking
you think
expensive.
it's too common for you to reach it. So, a simple thing like as that. Some of these females that be asking for these unrealistic things can't even afford a high end Walmart bag if you're being honest.
You know, one thing I
But
learned very
it's the
recently.
it's the names that are being tossed around is the goal that they want to reach. Like you would hear people who you grew up with like, oh, I need this Benz truck. It's like, really? You can't. If you are a
You didn't-
true gold digger,
you didn't
you
get
would
a
settle for a
license?
Honda. You would settle for a Honda car. 2025. It's something simple and it's something affordable, but it's pretty expensive. It's beyond your means. Something fresh off the lot. I
They
would
say
say
they
is
gotta get some
about
better. They
60
gotta
to
be some
80
better gold
thou.
digger.
You check, but they want the fairy tale of $300,000 vehicle. I just think it's unrealistic. But
But
hey,
we will differ, right?
No, I was gonna just say one thing I learned very recently is that a Birkin ain't a bag that they just sell. You can't just go inside and go buy
And
a
buy one.
Birkin. It's
Yeah.
a like a invite only type thing. I didn't know that.
You know what's
there's
funny?
ways.
Go ahead, my bad. Brian, go ahead.
No, what I was saying like Friday, there's ways around that to be invited into the club because most people don't even know who makes Birkin, and that's the weird thing about it. I want to get into that. You should go to the question.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that far right. A lot of things actually when you start doing research into it, a lot of these
You can't just
luxury
go on the shelf
items,
and buy it.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're not in the
No,
story. Sometimes you have to know people and all these
yeah.
kind of things. What you see being bought a lot of the times is off the market. That's why some of the price is so high. Is off the market. You're buying it from somebody who went and buy it
reselling.
and then
Yeah.
reselling it from them people.
Wait, but this may be a silly question though. But like, can men be gold diggers too?
Hold
Oh
on,
yeah.
hold on. Wait,
Absolutely.
hold on.
Sorry,
Let me
sorry.
cook for a
Wow.
while. Let me cook for a while.
Let him
He
cook.
got the
Let
pot
him
heating
cook.
up. He ready to drop it on. Let's hear it.
Bubbling
So,
over.
Let him cook.
so what Brian said, right? We hypocritical bad like fuck. So to start off with what Brian said, just to reiterate what I mean, we're gonna lead with money and then be vexed that we lead them with money and they come in
I'm gonna
asking
pull
for
back.
money.
You pull back.
Does that you led with money, nigga? You went and bought this car, you went and buy this chain and these things to go impress the woman them and bag them. So the
But
tools
you
that
talking
you
about me like that,
using,
man? You talking about me like
the
chill out,
tools that you
chill out.
use to try to gain this woman. How can you
You're
sit on
talking
here
my
and be
chain. You
upset
talking my
when she is
chain.
coming and feeding into the same thing you used to bag her? And to what Kenny was gonna say, it get man gold diggers too. Like it get man that digging gold too, and not even like from woman, from other man.
Yeah, big facts. Big facts, dog. Hey,
like,
you're not lying.
as I say, I had a woman that come and ask me for things after I first meet them. It's the same way I don't niggas that just see me out, I looking presentable. We get
Hey,
cool
let
and
me
say,
borrow
hey
that
yo,
hat.
hey yo, bro, let me get it. Hey yo, man, this
Big bro.
happened. This happened. Can I borrow a little
A
$30?
little
Like,
something, yeah.
give you back? And that's not disrespecting your situation, but we don't sit on here. We don't chastise women for that. When some of the men doing the same thing and we don't speak in it at all.
Yeah.
Facts.
You know what I'm
True.
saying?
I agree.
Dude, but like, how come? Why is it like really applied to men though?
Because
Like, why is it?
we is the one
Why is
that
it
went and
really
set the
applied to men?
stand
Yeah, like
the
we
standard. Like
yeah, we kind of like the source, the source for a lot of like them preliminary actions that entice that kind of thing in the first place. Especially, I think when you might go down history lane, where you've been in an era where like women didn't have as much agency as they do now, they would have to often rely on like those kinds of methods to get what they need to
Right,
get. You know what I
right.
mean?
to,
And that
to,
that there wasn't off of like some nefarious plan that the Council of Women like just do. That day is something that them man that day is something that they came up with as a result of the situation that they were in, and it became a
As a means to
commonality.
survive, right?
Yeah,
That's-
and it became a skill, it became an art. Like that's why like this. Anytime somebody, anytime somebody go viral with some OnlyFans thing with a man cussing about the women gain this crazy amount, and I just chuckle because you did it cussing the women, but
but it's the
who is
man them
buying it now?
paying. It's the majority
63%
man,
of
They're paying.
OnlyFans
They're
users
paying.
is
Yes.
male.
You're
right?
seeing partner them, yep.
You're
Hey, yo,
saying,
web,
boy.
let me hold that 10 so I can pay for this.
to to that point too, right? And I've learned this in class. Men
Mhm.
was directly you like if I guess man we ain't get enough time to even go through all of it, but like we were using women for marketing. Like, but if you go back in advertisements, a lot of advertisements is woman in these
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
scenario. You know what I'm saying? So this is not something where we have our part to play as well. But I gonna go back to saying we hypocritical, and I'm gonna pivot a little bit. We hypocritical about so much things. I have seen a post right where I think the situation with Joy Taylor. I don't know if y'all know anything about that. She's a sports broadcaster and something. I don't know the full details, but
I
they were
just saw
saying,
something on TikTok today, actually. Continue.
yeah, they were saying that she had sex with who or whatever to get up the chain of command. And
Oh, yeah, I
and I
saw
make a
that.
good point. You mean to tell me, as a man, if your superiors come and say, yo, just give me a little something, and they can move up. Most man is taking an opportunity. Let's
He
be real.
vexed.
Most man is
He
taking an
vexed.
opportunity.
He
But then
vexed
they
seeing
can be
get the
them
hit. That's
same
why.
man that's on the internet dogging her out so much. And I get it, because you're going over people that's working and they're working hard on these things. But I don't think a lot of the frustrations really come from that. The frustration comes because I can't do it.
He hit.
And
That's
not
really
me,
what it is.
not me personally. You know what I'm saying? Like the frustration
Hey.
comes, that's where it come from. Because I telling her right now, in my experience, listen, right? If when I went in the military, if a commander come and tell me, yo, listen, right, we'll drop a little tech sergeant on you if you little listen. Remember me like I might take the opportunity, man. If I'm being real, I might take the opportunity. So how we can sit on here and dog them out so much about it, you know what I'm saying? Make it seem like it's some big criminal thing. If somebody come on this podcast right now and say, well, we have partners and things, but hypothetically, somebody come and say, yo, I want to give you $10,000 a month, and now you got this go on OnlyFans and Blaze Woman. That man, most people taking that opportunity, bro, but you dissing these girls, bro. It's because you can't do it. That's all
You
it
ain't
comes
get
down to. You
opportunity.
wish you could have do it. So that's why I say, like, when we coin in terms like gold diggers, because I do think that certain things could get a little bit destructive. But when we coin in certain and these terms, we gotta show grace, because for one, the reality is, if the coin was on, if the what's this? How the saying ago? If you was in a
If the
position,
shoe was on
you
the
would
other
be,
foot, if the shoe was
yeah.
on the
If the
other
shoe
foot,
was on the other
Mm.
foot, if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be doing some of the same things that you complain about all the time. So have some grace. I'm not saying to go out there and just be dumb, but have some grace when you count up people for gold digging and oh, she do this
brother.
and they do that, or he do this and he do that. Have some grace a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
And
That's
to
But
their
we
add,
suppose
lifestyle.
Panama get
You don't have
card,
to agree
man.
with a gold digger. Some people like gold digger.
But what?
Some people
But
don't
what
want to
suppose
leave with their
Panama
money
get
and
card?
they fine with her.
and
What
to
you say?
add to your
Get
point,
card.
Web,
Suppose Panama get card. He give her his last money he did. You know, he planted. As soon as the money dropped, one boss out. He hot.
and he's
He just
stupid.
hot. He hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't keep
Let them
And
him.
rely
but
on
what I
God.
was going to say, what I
But
was
take
going
it
to say is that there's actually something out there, to your point, that's looking for the gold diggers specifically, because they flaunting the bread they train out the crackers to get them, to get the birds chirping, and they literally out there seeking that because they want that type of attention and they want that type of entourage. And
Yeah.
what is funny to see though, like in that balloon popping, y'all ever watch them balloon popping games?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
They had this, it was funny to see because you could tell that this man was one that likes to reach out for gold diggers, but in the specific lineup of women, this was women with standards, not gold diggers. So he there flaunting money and leading with money and starting with all this stuff, and all balloons get popped because they're like, what kind of materialistic shit this man on? Like he gonna just throw some a couple thousand in my face? What the fuck? Where's the substance? And it was kind of funny to see, like, he was just in a territory that he did not know how to navigate because his money was not
Uno
working.
reverse.
He wasn't handsome
with
to
that Uno
them.
reverse.
He wasn't anything. He was just a guy with
His
money
aura
that liked to go to the
dissipate.
club. Yeah, it was completely zero aura on that guy with the lineup of woman that he had, and it was kind of funny to see because you don't often see that in one space. So it was funny to see, and he looked so awkward at the end of it.
Wait, you were gonna say something, all that, Kefren? Kefren, I look so disappointed when you bring up the balloon popping. My boy say,
Yeah, no, like no, 'cause I take that because it's like you can't not see that there in your timeline now. You know what I mean? Like you got to see it. You
hey,
got to
whoever
see it.
whoever come up with that idea, that man got clear, me said.
Genius.
Yeah, hopefully
From them,
they
man.
had some type to
Some kind of patent going on.
some type of
something.
patent to it. That would be
Yeah.
So before we close out, right? Before we close out, I'll give some advice to them, man. I'll give some advice. Here's the red flags to look for in a man when he might be a gold digger his damn self. Since we could do it for women all the time, we're gonna do we can do it for man
Expose
now.
the man them.
We're gonna do it for the man now. And like I said, this is in general. Red flag number one. Yeah, big money. He calling you big money. Or he's saying that you got it and this and that. Like he put you on this money
Watching your
pedestal.
pockets.
Yeah, he pocket
Yeah.
watching. That's number one. Number two, you in the club and you see he out where he panas, but you notice like he kind of off to the side. He ain't the man with the battles and the thing. He just little come and he kind of patching, or he in
Taking
the
the group
club.
shots. Taking the
He
shots.
in the
Taking the group
yeah, you
shots.
know what I'm saying. He only taking the group shot them. Like the only shot them he taking is the group chat. Pay attention, ladies. The only shots he taking is the group chat them. Be careful. Ask proper questions, proper communication in the beginning to protect
I
yourself.
was asking to borrow your car.
Yeah, I always
Can I
ask you
stop?
to borrow your car.
Damn.
Red flag. That's a red flag. Beware, beware. They out here, ladies. They out here. Beware of that.
I always forgetting his wallet.
Yeah, he don't
Oh,
have his wallet. No man to forget the wallet, dog. Like multiple times. No man forgetting the wallet multiple times. Pay attention. Protect yourself, ladies. Protect yourself. Or you invite you over, you come by your house, right? 2 days, 3 days gone. No, the man still there.
Mm.
Be
No house to
careful.
go to. No
Be
house
careful.
to go to.
He
you
getting
can't
a
go.
little comfortable in your spot.
You can't come
Be
back to his
careful.
place, but he always at yours.
Be careful. But now, man, all jokes aside, in all of this, in everything we spoke about, there were common themes. You know what I'm saying? Emotional intelligence, being very aware, being self-aware, and being known when you're emotionally charged up, and knowing how to deal with other people's emotions as well. Communication, being able to actively communicate outwardly and communicate with yourself and actively listen. You know what I'm saying? I think those are the main common themes that's going to help protect you from a lot of the strife and things you're having. Communicate earlier than later. Address things
In
quicker
the
than let
moment.
it build up and get to that point. Go ahead, Farah.
Your finish your thought.
Yeah, man, go ahead, go ahead. I know you about to bail on to it. Go ahead.
I wasn't gonna belong to it at all. Actually, I was going to throw in the random things that don't make sense into the episode.
Okay, wait, hold on. Anybody want to add and actionable items and the things that need to be taken away from the things that we discussed? Briefly,
No
please.
man.
Briefly.
Well said, man. Well said, Web. Well said.
You touch on everything, man.
Harry.
Well
Why?
said.
He's a
Why?
really
Like
good
my
one.
Harry.
cat tell us say, pause. I was joking, man. Well, Farah.
So things that don't make sense. One I have for today, and if you have any, y'all could drop that on too. But things that don't make sense. Telling me you don't want anything from this restaurant that I going to and getting mad. Have the gall, the audacity to get mad when I don't bring shit.
Web. Any
Hey.
Web now? Barry, you're stunt. That's stupid. That's an easy answer.
No, that
You
Yeah,
don't make
you
always
sense.
you
get
walk
some.
into that
You
one. It
always
don't make
get
sense.
No,
something.
It
you
don't
got
make
to.
Always
I
sense.
get
mean,
something.
obviously, all us men know that you have to get something. No,
Yeah, get
either
something.
you
Yeah.
expect to share or you get something. But that shit makes no sense. And
Yeah,
it's
you gotta
crazy
get
that all of us, man, already know the rules, even though it don't make no freaking sense. That we don't know the rules because we don't know what we coming into if we don't walk with shit. Even though you said you don't want shit. All right, we don't read minds out here.
Hey,
Let us
you're
know what you
supposed
want
to
to
though.
friggin' eat and stop saying you don't know, please.
say less. Any closing words, Kev?
Um, I guess briefly going back to the red flag thing you were mentioning. I think another red flag that can be asked with like a question for the
Mm.
ladies is simply asking a man what his goals is in any
Facts.
kind of capacity, any kind of field, what kind of motion he trying to run, right? Like if the answer is super vague, like yeah, just try and make some money, man.
Hey, fucks, you know.
You might,
Yo,
Trying to get my bread up.
you might gotta go. You might gotta go.
For
You know
real.
what I mean? Because like
Facts.
money is a means to an end, dog. Money ain't
Facts.
the end itself. You know what I mean? So if I understand that, especially in our modern age, careers are not as linear as they were, and there are so many different things that you could do to customize how you do something. But everybody have something that they might be interested in. Everybody have some kind of gap or deficit that they
Yeah.
want to fill. You know what I mean? And I think that if you asking somebody something about that, something that's obviously most personal to them, and they don't have a real way of like articulating that, or they ain't in tune with that, I think it can give you a lot of clues of like the kind of ride you're in for. You know what I mean?
True,
So
true.
after finding out something like that, like it's really up to you to decide, like, you know, how well you want to navigate this thing, or if you just want to get out of town.
That's facts, my boy. Most people that are saying their goal is just to get money ain't really gain no money, dog.
Yeah,
But they
like
selling drugs.
especially as I find that question, that answer especially is like, it's not generally a good sign. Like, get money for what?
For what?
What are you
Yeah.
trying?
For what?
What are you
Yeah.
trying to
Mhm.
do with this thing? You know what I mean? So yeah. Other than
Hey,
that, it's always a pleasure with a man, then, man.
give
Yeah,
thanks,
man, for
give thanks
sure.
for
Sure.
coming through per usual, man. Like I said before, I check out. Actually, big up your mind hack, sack hack yourself, man. You big it up this time.
Yeah, man. You know, go ahead and follow me on all platforms. It's MindHack Sack on Facebook. My specific podcast is called MindHack Moments, and so it all aligns with my mission of empowering people with the tools to nurture their inner well-being, forge self-mastery, and build robust connections with others. All right, we trying
For sure.
to bro's trying to facilitate world peace, dog. I ain't even gonna hold you. I ain't even gonna hold you, bro. In any
Yes,
kind of
sir.
capacity, right? We try and build all kind of relationships and just build ourselves up so that we can just be Irie, dog. You know what I mean? All the
For
conflict, all
sure,
of this
man.
different stuff that just be going on with other people and ourselves are resolvable by just engaging with our critical thinking, enhancing our emotional intelligence, and building positive habits. We could do anything. And that's my mission, man.
Yes,
Real.
sir.
Any other closing words, fellas? Brian, you look like you're talking, but you're mute.
I'm just agreeing with Kenny.
Oh, say less.
Love it.
All right. And with that, peace over the heart, man. Thanks for coming through. See you at the next one.
Bless.
See you.